Broncos.
Folks, it is Sunday, NFL Sunday. More importantly, as some games are getting ready to go underway, and why did it happen again? For some reason, they wanted to revert back to the other screen. I don't know why, just it happens that way. But nonetheless, we are live here at Coco's Beach Bar, the North Beach Bar here in Clearwater. And we just had on, Vince Papali was on just live along with Hollis Thomas. Here at Coco's Beach, we have tons of Eagles fans, of course, 500 plus, making the trip down here to Clearwater. I was about to say Philly, as they'll be playing Monday night, some Monday night football. And I will, before I bring my co-host here on, if I get one of my cameras, of course, just went south. Not shocking, surprising. You guys can see, which hopefully will be camera number 2 here. You guys can see some of the crowd because of the shade. You won't be able to see it, and I'll get camera 3 fired up here momentarily. I don't know why that one went away, but hopefully that one comes back. And hopefully, more importantly, Ryan, everything will stay live. But right now, I'm being baked by the sun and the equipment. So hopefully, for those who are tuning in, I do appreciate it. We are live here again at Coco's Beach, North Beach Bar, here in Clearwater, Florida. Of course, the Monday night game tomorrow night, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams coming in at 2-0. Now, for the Eagles, it has not fared well for them the last 2 trips down here to Tampa. They will be back here again next season. We all know this. But for tomorrow, Baker Mayfield and crew are looking to do a much tougher job than they know, because this is the most important game for them for the season. For the Eagles, this will be a test as well. The band is about to fire up here momentarily, so hopefully that won't interfere with a lot of things. But again, when you go live is when things go haywire. But nonetheless, it is the co-hostess with the mostest, Ryan F. Ryan, how are you, sir?
I'm Ryan Neff. It's great to be with everybody today. What a fantastic slate we had for college football yesterday. Outstanding games throughout. Got the Eagles, Bucs tomorrow Monday night. Obviously, Philly sports trips coming down there yesterday. You can see all the people there. I'm here in my $1 million penthouse suite, as you can tell by the 1970 paneling behind me. And so a lot of good games on the slate for the NFL this week. A lot of people are out. Aaron Jones for the Packers, inactive. You got a couple other players that are inactive. Some intriguing matchups this weekend. So I'm interested to get everybody's take on it, and let's just get into it, man.
All right. Well, I'm trying to see if there we go. So there's another lovely shot of the stage. That's where Vince Papali and Hollis Thomas were just on. They had a 30-minute Q&A with the fans, and that's where the band's going to be. So hopefully everything else, I've got the other mics muted. So if everything goes well, the only thing you should be able to hear is me for the moment. But let me see if I can switch back to where I am. There I am. So yesterday, before we get into some Eagles talk, you were right, Brian, with a lot of the picks you end up making on your Wednesday night show. And for those who missed the Line of Scrimmage show with Ryan Neff, that is Wednesday nights at 6:30 to 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Of course, the fall is coming, or the fall is here, so the time will change. But for right now, it is still 6:30 Eastern Daylight Time. I guess starting off before we get with the Eagles, Colorado, you picked Oregon. Obviously, for Oregon, it ended up being not much of a test, it seems like, as they rolled over Colorado. So, Ryan, I want to start with that one before we get into some Eagles talk here. Is now the hype behind Coach Sanders, Coach Prime, are a lot of people now saying anything different compared to what they were just last week, or does the talk seem to be the same?
Well, I mean, he still has a lot of support. Everybody thought that they were going to get their ass kicked yesterday, and they did. They just don't have the horses in the trenches to, get the job done. He'll eventually get recruits there. They'll eventually step up their part of their program. But, they didn't have Travis Hunter, one of their best players, probably one of the top 10 players in all of college football. But, a lot of people said that this is the kind of game to get them refocused. No, it didn't. Did he expect that kind of performance out of his football team? No. And he came out in the press conference afterward and said, look, we got our ass kicked. There's no excuses. We need to pick our heads up. This game's over with. It's done. Now, they're going to have a tough one next week, too, against USC. It might probably be the same thing as it was this week. So these are the kind of things that he and the program will have to go through to get where they want to be. So, you know, I didn't see that kind of drubbing coming. I thought they would get taken behind the woodshed. I thought it would be like a 40-27 kind of game. I figured Colorado would score some points and Oregon would pull away in the second half. But from the opening kickoff till that final whistle sound, it was a thorough thumping. So, and it'll be interesting to see how the kids bounce back from this, knowing that they have to play USC next week. So, and a lot of people picked USC to win the Pac Zero this year. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But he's going to continue to gain support. He's good for college football. He's no holds barred. You know, he speaks what he feels. And he was honest in the press conference afterwards. So, but again, it'll be interesting to see what they learn from this game to take them into the USC game next week.
So I missed the press conferences. I'm trying to get out of things situated here at the same time, but I missed the press conference within the press conference, and I would imagine. Hang on, here as I'm now hearing Bill talk to me a second. In the press conference, did he? Well, first of all, did his son speak in the press conference?
I didn't see anything. It was a little bit too late for me. I was watching some of the other games, but again, he just basically came out and said, "Well, here's the thing: the Oregon coach Dan Lanning had a hell of a pregame pep talk, and he basically said that Colorado was playing for clicks. If everybody remembers the Deion Sanders click comment, he said we're playing for wins. The game's not going to be played in Hollywood. It's going to be played on grass, and you know, and I guess pregame, even before anything, the Colorado players went over to the Oregon logo and were sort of like I wouldn't say making fun of it, but they were stepping on it and stamping on it, and you know if that didn't just add fuel to the fire, um, you know, and I've seen people say that people are trying to beat Coach Prime and they're not trying to beat Colorado. I don't believe that. Um, you know, when you have a program or some of the things that Dion's wanting to do, he comes with flash. You know, he speaks it like it is. So does it make some people uncomfortable? Yes. I've heard worse. So again, we'll just, you know, I think when you get your butt handed to you like this, you better zip it for a little while.
I think
Um,
so.
yeah. So again, Coach Sanders is good for college football. He's not going to change. I don't expect him to. That's a good thing. But I said when they play Oregon and USC, we are going to see where the program is. Look, they played TCU. I've said this before. TCU is not what they once were last year. They play Nebraska. Nebraska's rebuilding. They're trying to form a new culture, a new identity. And then they had an emotional game against Colorado State in which they lost Travis Hunter. And we all know all that hype that went down. So they came off an emotional win. I said in the trenches, this is where we were going to show if they were ready for the big boys, and obviously they're not. Do I think they'll play better against USC? Most likely. Do I think it's going to be sort of the same outcome? Most likely.
Well, we'll see. Again, we'll see. As that was one of the truer tests early on here for Colorado, and then next week, I believe they're up against another semi-tough opponent.
Colorado? Yeah, they play
Yeah,
USC.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, for those out there, I apologize. The college football is one of those things that I don't follow as close as everything else. Ryan does a phenomenal job following the college football game. And by the way, even as I said on the Thursday night show, with the crew that I have right now, and that's including Ryan, because Ryan was not on the show with us. But I mentioned on the show on Thursday night, this is the best crew that I've ever worked with. Ryan, you being a part of it as well. I know you weren't there live with us, but I want to make sure that it's well known as well because Ryan does a fantastic job trying to do a lot of things behind the scenes, tries to help me out as much as he possibly can. I'm forever grateful as like sponsors, we try to reach out. We get a lot of no's and we do yes, but it's okay. We keep fighting a good fight. That's what we keep on doing. We're not young TikTok influencers, so I'm not out in a bikini and a two top and everywhere else or in against spandex or God knows what other things in order to be able to get what we need to get. But you know what? It's okay. God's good and it's going to happen. one way or the other. It doesn't matter. So, and for those who ever look for a Broad Street South TikTok, you'll never find it. And if you do, it's a phony account because I will never be on TikTok. And not like George Bush from many years ago when he said, "Read my lips." No, I'm telling you right now, me and TikTok will never be in marriage. And I don't care if TikTok comes with someone over to the house and says, "We'll give you $1 million. You can take your million and your TikTok and go elsewhere." I don't believe in the platform, don't care for the platform, and they do a better job overseas on it than they do here. That's my rant when it comes to TikTok, and that's fine. Dylan says, I respect Coach Sanders, but his team is overrated. They aren't one of the top teams in the Pac 12, nor college football. They're a solid bowl team, but definitely nowhere near the others in the pack.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I said, you look at their first three opponents; they were nothing special. Um, Again, they got to play USC next week. I still think they have to play Utah, and I think they either have to play Oregon State and Washington State. And anybody that watched the Washington State Oregon State game yesterday, that was the game I was interested in. I watched it till the end. I mean, Washington State was beating the hell out of them. Oregon State came back. And again, do I think this Colorado football team can go maybe 6-6? I mean, it's out there for the taking. Travis Hunter will probably miss next week again. They said he was going to be out a couple weeks. But do I think they could sneak a win against maybe, let's say, Stanford or Cal or one of the other lesser opponents? Most likely. So, again, I expected them to lose yesterday, and I expected them to get drubbed, but I didn't expect them to get drubbed that bad. I figured they would muster up something of a competitive edge that they could maybe like throw up 21, 24 points somewhere in there. And if you watch the game in the trenches, it's where it showed. I mean, they just defensive line, offensive line for Oregon just dominated the football game. And Dylan says the Pac-12 is a better conference than the SEC right now, in my opinion. Top to bottom right now, I would agree. And you know, this conference, we're not going to have the Pac-12. Well, we're going to have some sort of Pac-12. You hope it's just going to be different teams and it'll be a new era. But it's again, sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And again, when it comes in today's world of sports, it's all about the lira. It's all about the dead presidents. It's all about the green. So we know why all these teams are jumping ship. It's to get a bigger piece of the pie. So, again, well, I want to see how Colorado responds to this. And, we'll see. Do I expect a better performance next week? Absolutely. But again, it'll be much of the same as it was what it was yesterday.
Well, again, it's early in the college season. I mean, I'm not going to write off obviously Coach Prime, nor Colorado. He knows he had a tough task coming out in front of him. He knew it was going to be tough against Oregon. I listen. I'll give it to Oregon. The spikes that they change into and or the sneakers they change into walking into the stadium, I gotta admit, some hot sneakers, hot spikes, whatever you want to call them. Those things were nice, and I know they were from the LeBron James line from Nike. And listen, they've Oregon, and it started with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly got all those contracts, and I think Brian, I want to say it was daggone near 20 years, something like that, where they were supposed to change everything out. So, I mean, good job by Oregon. I don't, as even if I was on Ryan's show on Wednesday, would I have picked Colorado? No. I mean, Oregon is just too much of a tough matchup to be able to do so. So, we're going to see how it's going to end up playing out, and we'll see what happens. Again, we got more games to talk about. You guys, I want you to catch Ryan's show on Wednesday night at 6:30, the line of scrimmage with Ryan Neff. It was a fun Wednesday, and the hour went by so quick. This week, Ryan, maybe a little bonus time. Maybe a little bonus time because that was
Yeah.
fun. Ryan again does a great job. LV came in to help out. He would probably be his co-host as a flip flop on Monday nights. Of course, Monday nights we have Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on Sports Radio 102.9 from the game, which Ryan is the co-host on that one. I am producing that show, and I have fun doing the production side of it. So if you guys don't see me on camera, it's no big deal because I'm having fun backstage. So, and again, hopefully the stuff won't overheat as the sun is starting out to bake us here. But now, Dylan comes back, before we move on to the NFL, it says the NIL and media rights have become a huge factor. Conferences such as Big 12, Big 10, SEC have great partners, big outlets that allow for players and teams to promote their band on a platform, on a bigger platform.
Yeah, I mean, again, basically what I said about a month and a half ago when everything started taking place. This is just the first step into the Power Five conferences, or what will be the Power Four conference. What you're going to see now is it might not happen next year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. But I'll give it within 8 to 10 year range that you will see these schools in the Power conferences form a super conference of about 60 teams, and they're going to try and break away from the NCAA. So yeah, and again with recruiting, a lot of recruits now are going to want to go where the best NIL deals are now. So you've already seen it with Florida. They lost a big time recruit, and you know, look, if guys want to go to Alabama or Georgia or let's say Oregon, let's say Georgia offers the best NIL deal for some of the athletes, where do you think they're going to go? So yeah, there's all kinds of things that have changed. Um, I don't like it. I'm an old school guy. I always grew up with football being regional in college football, but times change, and you have to try and change with them. And that's just the world we live in college football right now. I'm still passionate about it. We're gonna lose rivalries, so I don't like it from that standpoint. But you just have to try and roll with it.
All right, and I apologize, Ryan. I don't know if you can still hear me. I'm trying not to crank it up too high because the band has started, so I'm trying to, kind of equalize some of the noise here. But listen, we're getting into now the NFL side of the house. Obviously, we have the Eagles playing tomorrow night, Monday Night Football, and honestly, it's a test for the Eagles too. By no means am I going to say this is any kind of walk-off win by Tampa Bay. Whether it was Tom Brady behind the helm, whether it's Bigger Mayfield now, either whichever way we look at it, at this point we have no other choice but to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their defense has been quite stellar for 2 games now. The offense hasn't been bad at all. So tomorrow I would expect more of the run game when it comes to the Eagles than I do the passing game. The safeties from the Buccaneers have been doing a much better coverage job within even the last game against the Bears. And people can say, well, it's the Bears. The Bears are just in trouble. But no matter what, they had good coverage. And the Eagles seem to start out slow when it comes out in the first quarter and sometimes in the first half. The way the Eagles are going to have to come out tomorrow is basically their full foot on the throttle to make things happen and at least go up by 14 in the first. Not saying that the Buccaneers cannot come back from it, but they're definitely going to have to start out fast and furious, at least in the first quarter.
Well, what I'm worried about with the Eagles is that pass defense. They rank in the bottom of the league right now. I know it's only 2 games. I get it. How are they going to handle Chris Godwin and Mike Evans? Mike Evans is a stud. We all know he's a stud. Chris Godwin is no slouch. Now, does Tampa Bay have to try and run the football? Absolutely. But the Eagles have one of the stoutest run defenses in the league. And if you can't establish the run, and you sort of know what the other team's going to do. And right now, to be quite honest with you, Tampa Bay is a passing team anyway because the run game has been non-existent, to be quite honest with you. So, and then on the flip side, Philadelphia obviously ran it down Minnesota's throats. Like, what was it, 278 yards they rushed for? And that's their bread and butter right now. They have to do that. They're still going to try and get it to Devontae Smith. They're still going to try and get it to A.J. Brown. And I'm just interested to see how the Eagles secondary is going to stack up against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And on the flip side, how is Tampa Bay, who has traditionally been great against the run defensively, how is that all going to go down? And something has to give. So it's either Tampa Bay's run defense is Philadelphia is going to break through it, or is Philadelphia's secondary going to step up to the plate? So I don't think either team will run away with it. You talk about Eagles jumping out to maybe a 14-0 lead in the first quarter. That ain't happening. Um, a lot of people discount Baker Mayfield. I get it. There's the history there. He hasn't performed all that well. Well, the first 2 weeks of the season, he's performed admirably. So if he takes care of the football, this is going to be a tough one for the Eagles. And I lost him.
All right, so the equipment overheated, unfortunately, and I knew it was going to end up happening because again in the sun. So it's if you guys, unfortunately, probably just had a big blank old screen. We're going to try and keep this going as much as I possibly can, but everything is overheating because right now the sun is baking the laptop.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught any of what I said.
No, you're probably going to have to say it again, Ryan, because I didn't hear a word, unfortunately. And like I said, the sun is just it's just beating down on everything.
That's okay. What I just basically said that, I'm interested to see what happens between, can Philadelphia's secondary handle Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, um, and on the flip side, can Tampa Bay handle what the Eagles are going to throw at them and running in football? And Tampa Bay, traditionally over the last 10, 15 years, has been one of the better teams against the run. So something has to give. Tampa Bay's running game really non-existent. Philadelphia has one of the best run defenses in the entire league. So I'm going to be interested to see Philadelphia's secondary against the receivers of Tampa, and I'm interested to see the running game of Tampa and how they're going to approach that Philadelphia run defense.
All right, I'm trying to get a couple people on here as quickly as I can because again the sun is just it's going to fry everything, unfortunately. And everybody knows here in Florida, it's 1,000 degrees up until February 2nd and 3rd, and then we cool down to about 72, and we go back up to 1,000 degrees again. So I'm going to see if I can grab one of the guys from 97.5 to jump on with us, talk a little bit of birds talk, and then come from there. But hang on for 1 second. We're going to try and grab. We're going to try and get Vince Rizzuto. We're going to try and get Vince Rizzuto on here again. Yeah, hang on, folks.
So some updates: the Bills are up early on the Commanders 3-0. Rams are up on Denver 7-0.
I'm sorry, Ryan. Say again. I apologize to everybody out there. The sun, unfortunately, the setup that we have here at Coco's, we are in partial. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of partly cloudy, kind of partly sunny, because we only have one umbrella, which is above me, but a sun, which is coming directly behind me, is now starting to heat up the equipment, which I'm pretty sure will end up taking it down. So I'm going to try and get Vince Rizzuto on from from Philly Sports Trips. and he might be too busy at the moment. So give me 1 second. The Brutes are
Yeah,
coming back in here.
I had some NFL scores for you early.
Sure, go ahead.
Got the Browns leading the Titans late in the first quarter, 3-0. The Dolphins all over the Broncos right now, 14-0. Chargers up early on the Vikes, 7-0. Ravens up on the Colts, 7-0. We got the Patriots with 3-0 early lead on the Jets. Bills over Commanders, 3-0. Falcons, Lions tied 0-0. Saints over the Packers, 7-0. And the Texans up early on the Jags, 7-0.
So I'm hearing you as best as I can with the updated the scores here as we're trying to get a couple of people on before I'll have to shut this down, not because I want to, but because the sun, again, not the premier best location. Vince Papale right now is exiting the building. So Vince is going to escort him over to his car, and then that'll be the last of Vince. I don't believe he's going to make the appearance tomorrow at the tailgate. So he made his appearance today here at the Coco's Crushfest here live in Clearwater Beach, Florida, as we have Sal Chunas from 97.5, Pat Egan, and the coach are in-house. They're somewhere walking around. Hopefully we'll get them on so we can have at least a little more extra birds talk here before I have to sign things off. Today is not a normal type show, and unfortunately, if I was in a much cooler environment, we could have stayed on a lot longer, but unfortunately, the sun will eventually damage the equipment, so I have to try and do the best that I possibly can do before it goes on. So I guess, Ryan, getting to I'm trying to think of the Thursday night game, and I'm sorry, it's a lot of noise here to try and get things situated. Thursday night, who do we have play this past
We had
Thursday?
49ers and the Giants.
All right. Was there any surprise by the Giants fans? And by the way, Brock Purdy now 8-0 as a starter. How about that one? I mean, the guy.
Yeah, I
Sorry, go ahead.
just I figured the Giants would get taken behind the woodshed. Now they didn't really get taken behind the woodshed. San Francisco, pulled away late, 130-20, I believe. So, some positives to take away from the Giants. I mean, I thought they were a little balanced offensively, but Daniel Jones just reverted back to whatever he does, and when the light shines brightest for him, he just seems to fade. And San Francisco's defense is no joke. Brock Purdy doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't get flustered. When he does make a mistake, he lets it go, and he just moves forward. So 49ers are the real deal. They don't do anything flashy offensively. They play tough, sound defense, and then they just sort of like attrition. They just sort of beat you into the dust, and they break your will. So, are they going to lose a couple football games? Of course they are. They'll have a stinker, or they'll just get outplayed one week or something like that. But it's Dallas and Philadelphia in the NFC East. It's Washington, and then it's the Giants. I don't think the Giants have anything for anybody. Barkley getting hurt didn't help. You could see how it affected them offensively. And, again, Dallas and Philly are the cream of the crop when it comes to the NFC East. And then Washington, I think, is maybe a 500 team as currently constructed. And then the Giants are just, the Giants just do giant type things.
Yeah, it's a shame I got a quick little break before the band hits their second song. As the first song went about a 7-minute extension as they first come up with it's getting hot in here. Ironically, it sure is because I am sweating like a lunatic at this point. Giants, listen, again, I know some people can say they're out of rebuild mode. Some of them will say it. Danny Dimes obviously still behind the helm. I don't think that they'll keep him behind the helm if things continue to go south for the Giants. I just don't see the reason why. I mean, Eli Manning, they took him out. At the time they took out Eli, he should have been benched the way he was. But I don't think for the Giants, could they be looking, Ryan, if they take another 2 losses, do we see the same starting quarterback in there? Or at that point, do the Giants just say, go with what we got?
Well, I mean, they gave him the big contract, so you sort of have to stick with him unless he's really struggling that bad where you feel like you have to pull him. But I didn't understand the contract. I Can you have any faith in him at this point? They've given him every opportunity. He's not really panned out to be what they thought they were, yet they still gave him the contract. I think Saquon Barkley is more important to that team than any one position when he stays healthy. And unfortunately, he can't stay healthy. So, I think the Giants organization, even though they gave him that contract, they will have to make a decision at the end of the year. Do we keep Saquon, build around him, and get somebody else here as the QB? Or do we move on for Saquon because it does have a history of getting hurt? And, I just said that the Giants do giant-type things. My gut instinct tells me that they will hold on to Danny Dimes, and they will try and shop Saquon Barkley around at the end of the year.
Well, the other thing with keeping within the NFC East, you have Trevor Diggs as well. Obviously, the injury during practice for Dallas. Big loss for Dallas, no matter which way you look at it. And also for Dallas fans, and I think you guys have brought it up on your Monday night show. For Dallas, Ryan, I'm not solely convinced yet by the Cowboys, like a lot of people are, that the Cowboys will end up running away with this division. I don't think the Cowboys have really had a super true test yet in the season. And by no means, I don't want anybody to think, oh, you're an Eagles homer. You got to think the Eagles are, best thing since sliced bread. And if you guys ever listen to me as well, I don't put the Eagles at the top upper echelon. I mean, it is what it is when it comes to as far as the Eagles. But when it comes to Dallas right now in a pretty bad spot as far as when it comes to cornerback. So we're dying to see exactly what's going to end up happening here with Dallas. I see that my producer is getting Pat Egan, so I'm going to have Pat here momentarily show up on the screen. So, brother, how are you? All right, coming up on the screens, you guys can see here. All right, let's see, make sure I got the right mic here. Hang on, I might have you muted. One of these are coming up. Can you hear me, Pat?
1, 2, 3. That's better.
There you go. So, as I'm on 4 here, obviously the band playing here, more than obvious. You guys coming down from 97.5 Fanatic. And by the way, for those who see Pat here on camera, Pat Egan with 97.5 Fanatic, the longest tenure at the Fanatic.
That's saying something.
It is.
That's yes. I never thought. Many people did not think that would ever be the case, but now, yeah, I've been through the good, bad, and all of it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, you have, Pat. But I'll say this much, so that I don't know if you can still hear me over there. All right, so I don't know as far as when it comes to the Fanatic. I mean, they've gone through a lot. We've seen a lot of changes. The morning show, I think, has been the biggest changes throughout the years as you've been there. It seems like now with John Kincaid, God bless him, because I know he's going through his therapy. He's definitely kicking cancer's ass, I'll say that much, doing a phenomenal job on that behalf. But with all the changes that have been there, you've been there, again, the longest out of anybody. How, if any way, has the changes ever affected you from obviously coming in as an intern, being a producer, being one of the most followed personalities on the Fanatic on Twitter and social media? But has it changed as the years have gone by? Has it changed anything for you personally?
I mean, look, when you have different bosses and stuff, some of them will see you in a certain light. And I've gone through 5 program directors at this point, so each one of them, they have their good and their bad tendencies, and they'll add something to your game. But for me, it was fighting through the initial view that they had of me, whether that be good or bad. They'll kind of paint you in a certain light. And I remember there was one program director we had, and I could just tell right off the bat, he was kind of like, whatever. We got him, he's over there, but I'm going to focus on some other people. And it's tough to jump out of that box to how to stand out. Honestly, the first way I got on air was because I was doing a podcast with a buddy at the station. I got in trouble for doing it at the station. And then 2 months later, the program director ended up listening to it and opened his eyes and see me another light, because he just saw me as a small guy running around with Philly stuff, making jokes. And then it was oh, he actually can be serious at times. So It's been good and bad. Like I've kind of been that cockroach surviving through all the storms, you know, and the all the nuclear wars and whatnot. But yeah, it's been challenging at times. You just when you have a guy come in, whether you know him from being in the building or what, it's immediately how's this going to affect me? I mean, it's a normal question everybody's going to ask is what does this mean for my future? And not being one of the main guys like the John Kincaids, Mike for the longest time, right? It's like they're safe. Like they ain't going anywhere. But for me and a lot of my coworkers, it's like, well, this could either be great, it could be a huge opportunity, or it could be the end, and I could get pushed out. So it's always a stressful experience, and I've gone through 5 of them now. Now, luckily, I had a lot of people in my corner who fought for me and pushed me hard on newer guys that might not have known who I was. But hopefully, nothing changes. I'm not looking for anything to change. So, but you never know.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's part of our business. You know, it's a results business, and sometimes you get blamed for stuff, and you gotta start looking for jobs or whatnot. I don't know. I'm just taking it one day at a time at this point.
No, I don't blame you because again, I mean, you've been like I said, the longest tenure there. I mean, we've been friends for many years now at this point. The same thing with my brother Jimmy Seltzer, even though he's at another station, across town. But I think the value that you have, and everybody says that know your worth, know your value. For the Philly fans, for those of us who love sports radio, for those of us who love talk radio, we love that you're still around because it. I could easily say this about anybody else, but it's different, Pat. If you were no longer a fanatic, and even though as much as I love John Kincaid in the morning show, it would be completely different and completely amiss without you being around. There's a certain way you carry yourself. For those who see you and out in public, you're not as much out in public like everybody else because you're a very to yourself type person. But for those of us like to see you out here, you know, amongst the crowd and everything else, that's what we enjoy most about you. When I saw you last year or 2 years ago, you know, over at Raymond James Stadium, the same thing, and at Tampa Joe's. But if you were to ever be, and we hope not by any means, hopefully you'll get either between your own show or God knows what the limit end up being. I just hope that you're with the Fanatic for many years because you are now the backbone to that radio station, whether somebody wants to admit it or not.
In a weird way, yeah. It's like me and Chunis were joking about it. Like I think we're the younger people. I think a lot of people still look at us like we're in our 20s, even though we're not. You know, like early 20s, like right out of college. And it's like, no, we're both the longest tenured guys. And it's funny because I vividly remember everything about the internship. Like I remember coming in for the interview, and I remember who I interviewed with, and getting it, and doing promotions, and meeting people like you, right? Like doing the go-kart race with like Harry and Nick, right? And doing it with listeners, and then working your way up. And I like to think, like I bring a value that not many people would be able to replicate, you know. I like to carry myself as like a self-deprecating guy, you know, and like highlight the mistakes as much as the successes. Like in this industry, you're going to talk for 4 hours a day, right? 20 hours a week. If you make a mistake, it's fine, right? Like we're going to make bad calls. But the idea of like, let's just ignore every bad take I've ever had, I just feel like the listener doesn't want to hear that. So it's like, no, like let's highlight the bad, and let's focus on, okay, yeah, I missed on this call, right? Travis Fulgham did not have 1,000 yards. That's on me. I feel like a lot of people in our industry don't do that. And I do think, and maybe I'm being naive, but I do think listeners out there resonate with the guy that's willing to go like, hey, that was on me. Like I messed up, you know? When we saw each other last time in Tampa, I was like real down on Jalen Hurts. Did not think he was the guy. Didn't think he'd ever be a franchise quarterback. Thank God I was wrong. Like, thank the good Lord that I was wrong. Because I really thought we're going to be going into, like, looking for a new franchise quarterback. We're going to be using one of those draft picks on a quarterback. Thank God I was wrong. And that's what I like to think I bring that a lot of people don't, is just the ability to, like, just go, like, yeah, hand up. Like, I was wrong on that, but I'm a fan before I was doing this, so I'm happy I was wrong because ultimately it leads to the team having success. And I like to think that the listeners like that. Hopefully,
No, they
got it.
do.
God, I hope. I hope.
no, no, they definitely do, Pat, because you got to figure it's different. Like radio has changed so much. We
Yeah.
know it as years have gone by. You can barely say whatever you want to say anymore, and if you do, you got to walk a fine line. I
Yeah.
think that's why starting my own radio station makes it much better because I don't have to deal with the FCC as much as you guys have to. So it makes it a little more free will to be able to do so. But even like you said, it's when you guys whether it's a small mistake, you guys know that someone's going to call you out. You immediately get that call on their phone, and they're going to tell you exactly. Oh no, Pat, let me read back to exactly what you said.
Yep.
And it's the tough part because you get over it. The difference is in Philly, they're going to rub it in just a little bit more, and that's where
Yeah.
you have to learn how to deal with the Philly faithful. We bring out the best in everyone, but we also bring out the worst in everyone at the same time.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about Philly, and that's what I love about the media market, is like you can't fake it. Like you can't fake anger, you can't fake happiness. Like they'll see right through it. That's what I love about doing radio in Philly is and I have this line with people where every once in a while people go, oh, it's like they're just throwing hot takes out. It's like, no, if you think it's a dumb point, just know that I believe that dumb point in the moment, right? Like I'm not faking it. I'm literally depressed when the Sixers lose in Boston in Game 7. Like it ruins my week, my month. When the Eagles lose the Super Bowl, like it hurts. And that's the beautiful thing it's like I do think for people out there that are listening that go to sports radio podcast for an escape, it's like I want the listener to go like, I feel that. Like I can feel his happiness or his heartbreak or his anger or whatever. Like I can feel it through the speaker, through my car, through whatever, because we've all listened to guys where it's like you can just tell right off the bat it's contrived. It's fake. And like it's a tune out right away. You don't want to listen to that guy because it's like this is faux outrage. You're not really mad about the situation. And that's the beautiful thing I like about Philly. And you talked about it. Like it's just they'll call you out right away. They'll call you out on the mistakes, the good, the bad, everything. And obviously the good's better, right? You like when they point out that you don't suck. But if they do, like they're not gonna sugarcoat it.
Right.
And in other markets, it's like the G shucks. Well, and it's like no, Philly's just they'll call you up to just rant and rave, and I love it. Even when it hurts, and like that listener that came at me viciously, it's like I love that passion because whatever it was, I got them to pick up the phone and either tweet or call or whatever and spend some energy on it. And at the end of the day, like we're all cheering for the same thing, right? Like you're wearing Eagles stuff. I'm not because I'm wearing Philly stuff. But tomorrow I'll be wearing Eagles stuff. We're all cheering for the Eagles, right? Like right. Phillies, like all of it. And at the end of the day, like we want what's best for the team. And I'm no different. I was telling my co-host Bob Cooney and John Kincaid over the summer, for our industry, this Eagles training camp was the worst training camp for our industry.
I agree.
Ever.
I agree.
There's no talking point. They're good. We know they're good. There's not really position battles that, okay, linebacker, secondary. We all know that, right? All right, what's next? But as a fan, I loved it because this has been the best training camp as a fan of my lifetime. It's like no devastating injuries, no real problems to speak of that are just these glaring problems. Yeah, as I said, linebacker, secondary, right? But you got your franchise quarterback. Your offense is loaded. Your defensive line is restocked. You're good. And we're just not used to having that in Philly because normally it was like with Andy would have his two-a-days. And he kept waiting for the egg to drop or the shoe to drop. And what big name guy is going out with a torn ACL in training camp? And then obviously all the crap with Chip Kelly. There's always something going on with training camp. With us this year, there was nothing with the Eagles going on. So as a fan, I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah, it might be difficult in the moment as a radio guy to pull 4 hours together, but as a fan, like this has been the best thing in the world. Like they're good, and we know they're good, and there's no real storyline, there's no real drama. It's just the football team going through training camp and get ready for the season. And that's it. And now they're 2-0, and tomorrow they'll be 3-0, and It's on to next week, and life's not that bad anymore.
No, it's not.
Life's pretty good.
Well, the funny thing is that you guys had mentioned it before the interview with Vince Papale there, that how many Buccaneers jerseys, T-shirts, hats have you seen here in Clearwater?
We were walking back from getting coffee this morning, and there was one guy who ran by us. He was on a jog, and he just said, "Go Bucs." That's it. That is the only. I mean, there's a guy over here with a Dolphins shirt, but other than that, like, I haven't seen anything. And it's so true of the way that this fan base travels, and it's people like you who you're not traveling down here because you live here now, but it's a transplant. It's moving down here, putting up roots here in Tampa, whether it be Tampa, LA. You can find your own people when you're an Eagles fan, no matter where you go. I went out to Disneyland over the last year, the Christmas break, and like there's 3 or 4 people walking around with Eagle stuff. I'm no different, right? I'm wearing Eagle stuff. Give the person the Go Birds to do the recognition. Although, actually, funny story, if you have a moment, I'm in the bathroom with my 4-year-old. He gave me one of those like, "Daddy, I gotta go right now." I'm like, why didn't you tell me this 5 minutes ago? We could have gone to your bathroom, right? So I'm like trying my hardest to have him like not pee himself. We get to the bathroom, we're leaving. There's a guy with an Eagles jacket on. I give him the customary hello, the Go Birds. He just stared at me. I'm like, was that a gift? Like,
right.
This isn't the way this works, man. I say Go Birds, you say Go Birds back, and then we go about our day. It was the only time I've ever had a, hey, Go Birds, and not get anything back. But it's a great thing. It's like, hey, you're amongst friends when you see somebody out there, Eagle stuff, Go Birds back. It's and it's a fan base that, like, Vince has made a whole, from Philly sports, he made a whole like a business around it.
Yeah.
Of traveling down, but like taking people there, and then this season he's doing a homecoming for people that are Eagles fans that have never been to Philly. And that's the thing about like the connection you make. We have a listener from England named Sam who's just no connection with Philly. He just loves the Eagles and the Sixers, and he's like become this diehard Philly sports fan. And you don't see that if you're a Jaguars fan, right? You don't see that if you're a Houston Texans fan or a Bucs fan. Or this fan base really is different, and it's a family atmosphere where we travel down, we see the same people. When I was traveling down here, I was wondering if I was going to see you, right? Like, it's like, all right, you make friends doing this job and traveling with the fan base and whatnot. It's like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to run into that person now. And I just get the feeling that if you're a Phoenix or Arizona Cardinals fan, I'm dating myself, Phoenix Cardinals. If you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, you don't have that.
Right.
I don't think the Arizona Cardinals fan base travel company is really booming right now.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe I'm naive.
No, not at all, because you can't. It's the same way. Like, I try to get together with you guys when you guys come down here, because obviously I'll hear it throughout the day. In the morning, thank God for iHeartRadio. Even though iHeart, you get a free plug there. But for once in iHeartRadio, I probably wouldn't be able to pick up you guys unless I go directly to the website. But because I'm always on the go, I'm able to hear 97.5 on the go there. But no, listen, I've been down here now for 5 years. In the 5 years I've been down here, I've never seen an NFL team where, minus the 2 years that Tom was here, the visitors sell out 90% of the stadium. And then you got 10% Bucs fans.
Yeah.
You go into Tampa, and we have, my producer here is to my right, but so there's, I'm forgetting the name of the festival every year. I know it's going to be delayed by the time you hear me, but the Gasparilla, that's for show here now. But so Gasparilla comes around once a year. It's a festival. It's like a pirate festival. They make it seem like Jose Gasparilla was the one that kind of discovered Tampa Bay, and he came in his big Buccaneer boat. So to me, if you're a Buccaneer, you have a pirate-themed celebration going on in February. It's almost like the Mardi Gras of Tampa, to put it best.
Okay.
Why aren't you bringing all of your players that are now the off-season for all you guys over to celebrate with the fans? Philly, you could have the Thanksgiving Day Parade. You can have the St. Patty's Day Parade, the Mummers Parade, any parade to fall off with. There's an Eagle involved in some form, fashion, or another. So here, I haven't gotten used to the culture down here because it's not like back home. It's different. When we travel in flocks. We know everywhere we go, we're going to entertain everybody. I'm pretty sure everybody at the hotel is probably upset because all you
already made the joke. Yep. It's like, I was making the joke about this place of like, if you work here, it's like they got to be sitting there going, all right, yeah, we get it. We know how to spell Eagles, because it's just random chance will break out. And it really is. It's taking over. A good example was the last time we were in Tampa was for the playoff game. And deep down in our heart, we knew what was going to happen. We knew that they had no shot. We knew, like, I went to the game thinking it's going to be over by halftime. And guess what? It was over by halftime, right? But you go to the game and it's like you still have fans traveling down, showing out, letting it be known we're here, knowing full well, like, yeah, this probably ain't the year. Like, it really is. Like, this fan base is built different. And that's a good example is whether it be parades, charity events, like there's somebody involved from the Eagles organization. And it's like they really do become a member of the community. It's a religion. There's a great documentary out there called Wait Till Next Year, and it's all about the Eagles and the fan base. And ironically, they filmed it during the Super Bowl run, but they connect to the fans of like. It's a shame because it's a movie for people that go, you realize it's just a game, but those people will never see it because it's not just a game to all these people here, right? Like this is their vacation. They didn't go down the Jersey Shore. I'm sure some of them did, but like they spent their money. They looked at the schedule. They said, "What game are we going to?" And you don't really get that with other fan bases where, okay, yeah, my team's in the playoffs and I'm going to travel down there, but I know they're probably not going to win. It's more of like a, okay, yeah, my team's in the playoffs and I'm not gonna quote waste the money, right? Because they don't have a shot. But with the Eagles, it's different. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna support the team, and to hear the players talk about it too. It's not just speak. It's not just like hyping it up. Like when they come out and there's a loud, raucous atmosphere, it's like crap. This is an away. I thought this was an away game. And they talked about it the year they went to the Super Bowl, where they played the Chargers out in L.A. and they played the Rams out in L.A. And granted, those two teams were new to L.A., but still, like you overtook the stadium and it's 5,000 miles away. I have a friend who's a diehard Bucs fan. He lives in Jersey. He will literally fly down here for the games because it's so cheap. He will stay here for like the day and then he'll fly back. And he told me like the reason I do it is because tickets were dirt cheap. I get to see my favorite team. It's not all that expensive. They raised prices when Tom came to town. I'm sure they went right back down, right? Eagles stock is always rising.
Yeah.
They're never lowering prices. You're never getting buy one, get ones because the fan base is loaded. And it's a diehard, rabid fan base that I have a joke. I don't teach hate in my child's heart except when it comes to the Cowboys and the Mets. And like it's like, no, we don't like them. And it's just a different. If you haven't been there, if you haven't experienced, it's different.
It is. And my co-host has been on the line patiently waiting here. But Ryan, the funny part is, so Ryan doesn't get it when it comes to Philly fans. He's a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but love the guy to death. But he doesn't understand when there's certain things that come out of our mouths, it's not full of hatred. It's the love, and there's a way that we talk to each other.
Yes.
So, Ryan.
Angel, yes.
You being on the line, Ryan, what's the most annoying thing that you despise about the Eagle fan base?
Well, just remember I was a Dallas Cowboys fan until I got sick and tired of Jerry Jones's crap. So I just switched over to the Chiefs because they were the original Dallas Texans. So I know all about the love-hate relationship between Philly and Dallas. But with Philadelphia fans, it's with everybody that comes to town. It's not just with Dallas. It's with everybody. So, and I know that I get it. Eagles fans are passionate and X, Y, and Z, but they're just, to me, sometimes they just go overboard with the obnoxiousness. And I get it. Your passion, I don't get it because I'm not a Philadelphia fan. I understand it. Being a former Dallas Cowboy fan, the passion that we had for our team or any team, but in places like Boston, in places like Philadelphia, in places like New York, and even in Oakland at one point with the Raiders, I understand it and I get it to a point. I can't wrap my head around some of the stuff that goes on with the extracurricular stuff.
Can you give me an example of the extracurricular stuff recently? Because I do think that since the team moved out of the vet, which was 20 years ago, the fan base has gotten softer. And I don't mean that in a negative way. You're no longer having basically what happened in during the Patriots game. Like, you're no longer having those fights go down. So I'm genuinely curious, like what extracurriculars?
Well, the other thing is too, you have to remember that I'm just going off history. I'm 55 years old, so I used to go down to the vet all the time for the Cowboys-Eagles games, and we used to dress up in our cowboy gear and sit up in the 700 level. You know, I mean, that's how brave we were. How stupid were we? But I haven't been to the link, so I don't really understand the new. Ever since they left the vet, like you said, and are now at the link. So, I'm going off past history now. Maybe like you're saying, and maybe like Angel said, maybe it's gotten better, and Eagles fans, as far as being in the link, have gotten a little bit more, calm and, not so rowdy and obnoxious and stuff like that. So I'm just going off past history, and me being 55 years old and knowing what my experiences were at the old vet. So, you're right. In that particular instance, in that particular case, I don't understand, and it's probably gotten better as far as that aspect goes.
Let me just say, like, you're never gonna get a warm welcome wearing a Cowboys jersey, Giants, Commanders. You're never getting a, hey, how you doing? Like, I'm a huge Temple football fan. I went to Temple Notre Dame a couple years ago, and I had Notre Dame fans welcoming me. Now that's probably because they were playing Temple and it's no threat, but I was thrown off by it. I'm cheering for the other team. What are you doing welcoming me to your place? But right. It was the Midwest. It was a different fan base. So even though they moved into the link and it has gotten softer, you're never going to get a welcome of like, oh, hey, hope you enjoy your trip. But you're also probably not getting the threat of getting like a bag of piss thrown on you like it was at the vet. You're probably not having the threat of getting punched in the face unless you mouth off. I was at a game. I was at T.O.'s first game back. This was years ago, but it was at the link. And there was a couple in this, like, right down below me, and they were wearing Cowboy stuff. They weren't bothering a soul. And then there was another kid who was, 3 rows down, and he was being obnoxious. A couple of the Eagles fans were giving the couple that wasn't bothering anybody a little bit of gruff, like nothing big. And I let the Eagles fans know, like, yo, they haven't done anything. That guy over there, though, won't stop talking, so go get – and they changed. Like, they completely, stopped getting on the Cowboys fans or just watching their team. They went and they got on that guy. I'm a little bit different. You're gonna have drunken idiots everywhere. So you're gonna have people that love walking by and just saying stuff. But for the most part, I do think we have an attitude still, but it's not nearly as bad as the lore would let you to believe. On the flip side, we do love hearing this stuff come from them because we don't want you to come. We don't want you to show up.
Exactly.
Like, that's the thing. Like, we want the attitude of, like, oh my God, like, they still have a jail, and which we don't. But, like, we love that because we don't want you showing up and taking a seat away from a possible Eagles fan. So in a weird way, it's like we want our cake and we want to eat it too. We don't want this negative perception of the fan base anymore because we're sick of hearing about snowballs with Santa. But we also want you terrified, and we want you to think that it's like the 9th gateway to hell when you enter the link. But it's not.
Well, here's the other thing
I talked about before too. You brought up Joel Embiid from the Sixers. Ryan has been saying for the last 2 years, this is probably the last dance for Joel Embiid. I don't understand during the playoffs between him and James Harden, the whole just giving up philosophy. That drove me nuts. And I know Ryan had to take his walk, so Ryan, I want you to let Pat know the reason why you believe that this will be the final time, at least the final curtain for Joel Embiid.
I just look, I've said for the last 2 years that Joel Embiid is going to get to the point where he's going to say, what has this organization done for me as far as putting the pieces around me? Now, they went out and got James Harden, and we all know how this past season went with the playoffs, but I think he's just getting to the point where he's just like, I don't need this anymore. He wants to win a championship, but then on the flip side, it's like, when you have Harden and Embiid basically quit in that Game 7, all he was worried about was winning MVP. That's all he talked about. Now, he said he wanted to win a championship. I don't know if that was like crocodile stuff, when he got the MVP award, and he's holding his kid and he's crying, and he says he wants to be in Philadelphia. But then when you put forth that kind of effort and you see the organization, not keeping Jimmy Butler and going out, James Harden disappears in the playoffs. The Sixers know that. He has a history of disappearing, and he did. So I just don't think. I think this experiment is done. I don't think they're winning a championship this year. James Harden's coming back, and he's not happy, and we're not sure how this is going to go. And I've said for the last couple years that eventually Joel Embiid is going to say, you know what, I'm done, I want out, I'm gone.
Sadly, I agree. And that's why this last playoff run bothered me so much, was I just felt the window slamming shut. And for Joel, there's got to be a level of frustration that I just can't fathom, because every year the guy's injured. And I know people hate hearing it because we've heard it every year, but it's a fact. Wrap the guy in bubble wrap till the second round, because he can never enter the second round healthy. And the one year he did, it was the bubble year with Brett Brown, and everybody quit on Brett Brown. But it's a league where the stars dictate what happens. It doesn't matter when you signed your contract. You want out, the team has to trade you because you're not going to show up. You're going to be a distraction. You're going to be this. You're going to be that. And it's the only league I've seen this happen where it's crazy. It's really a superstar-driven league. So I think he will probably give it one more shot, and then he's going to go, all right, look, this ain't working. You're out of assets. Me and Tyrese Maxey ain't enough. You have cap space, but more importantly, you failed to attract anybody here. And that's the big thing, is you look at the complementary pieces. Okay, yeah, they brought in JJ Redick. They overpaid for him, but also JJ Redick ain't one of the guys. You know what I mean? He's not a superstar level talent to team up. He's a nice complementary piece. Jimmy Butler was a trade. Tobias Harris was a trade, and then you had to overpay him. I don't know what it is, because I love Philadelphia, and Angel, you obviously love Philadelphia too. But every other league, Philadelphia is a draw. For whatever reason in the NBA, and it's not. And the Sixers can have all the cap space in the world, but it's not going to mean anything if nobody wants to come. So sadly, I do think it's probably the last run. I think they'll have a nice season, and they'll probably get bounced in the second round again. And then it's a matter of he'll privately ask the organization to trade. That private question will get leaked out to Woj, and then all of a sudden his value goes kaput. And you're getting 3 first-round picks, and they're going to be in the 20s, and it's not even going to matter. And then we're going to see him go off and be healthy for the first time in the playoffs and dominate. So it's literally the exact opposite of how I feel about the Eagles. The Eagles, I feel great. And then the Sixers, I'm let's not even bring them up. I'm not in a good headspace with them.
No, and you're right, because I know I can keep you here forever just because, talking sports, but the one thing I want to leave off on as well is that obviously the Flyers are finally now becoming to be what the Flyers used to be. I think it's been a long time coming. It's been frustrating for me as a fan down here in Tampa, because obviously I'm watching the Lightning win back-to-back Stanley Cup,
really
going into, obviously making it to the playoffs. But the Flyers, to me, just weren't doing enough. Now, finally, Jonesy, they bring him in. They bring him in. So I'm not expecting by any means, Pat, this being the super gangbuster year that will make the playoffs. But I would think at least by year 2, maybe year 3, finally, we start seeing that turnaround from the Flyers. Yeah. Did the Flyers actually make the right move?
I think they did. They got a lot of negative heat initially because it was, here we go again, former players. But it's different. Danny Briere is out there working his way up and not just handed a job. He was the GM of the ECHL team, and then he moved his way to the AHL. He's been training for this. Jonesy has a great hockey mind. He's a funny guy, but he also has a really good hockey mind. It's a shame because the negative perception was, here we go again, former Flyers. But in reality, it's you can't judge them on that if they know what they're doing. You throw in Chuck Fletcher, and it's the dude's trading first-round picks for Rasmus Ristolainen and then doubling down on a bad move by giving him a 5-year deal. It was bad in the moment. It's bad now. And then Jonesy and Briere come in and they go no, we're not doing this. We're not having the idea that we're close, because we're not. So we're not giving up draft equity for a Tony DeAngelo, which is a win-now move. D'Angelo's a really good player if your organization is ready to win now. The Flyers weren't, which is why it was a dumb move at the time. So they go out and they go, no, like we're not trading first-round picks for proven talent. We're going to keep those picks. We're going to draft them. We're going to get them in. There's another one. ES, Eagles. We're going to get them in, and then we're going to, work it out. Like, the Mitchkov move's genius because it's a little bit like the Jalen Carter move. He's one of the top players in the draft, but he comes with baggage. Jalen Carter's baggage is off the field. Mitchkov's baggage is his contract, and he plays in Russia, and the political climate over there, like, you don't know when you're going to be able to get him out. But it's smart because you're not going to contend in 3 years. So when you finally bring him over, you might be ready to contend, and you're finally getting this impact rookie, which you saw with Minnesota with Kaprizov. Like, he comes in, and it's like they're ready to contend. He's 25 at the time, and it's like he hit the ground running because he was so advanced. So they have made the right moves. They're not going to make a lot of waves this season. They're not going to be this exciting team. I like the offseason moves they made. They brought in a couple guys that immediately I went, oh, that'll get some value at the trade deadline. That's somebody that they'll be able to flip for a third, fourth round pick. That's a good move. That's not a win now move, but it's a good depth move that every organization is looking for a bottom six forward. He fits that mold. Get him in here. Kind of like what they did with Derek Brassard last year. I love their trajectory at this point because they finally recognized it. It's like you always hear about people with issues of like you got to hit rock bottom. And I feel like the Chuck Fletcher era was rock bottom. And then they had this epiphany of like, we can't keep doing this. It ain't working. And finally, it's like you see the light at the end of the tunnel after all these years of either bad drafts, bad moves, whatever, of like, okay, we're going to take a step back and realize it's okay to lose if you're doing it with a plan. And the fan base, I think, has responded to it because I think for the longest time, the Flyers didn't do this because of the fear of we're going to turn off the fan base. And the fan base was the exact opposite. They're like, could you please have a path? Show us you have a plan.
Right.
And they finally did it, and the fan base is content. They're like, look, we'll go support your product if we can see the vision. If we can't see the vision, there's no point of going to support your product. The team's not going to be great, but you'll see them support. And I think that ultimately is good. It's good for the city and good for the organization.
I agree because, again, it's been a long time coming when it comes to the Flyers. And as a fan base, obviously it's something that we needed. It's just been way too long.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of suffering for Flyers fans. And it's a great organization. But it was such a disconnect for so many years.
Oh my God, yeah.
That it drove everybody crazy. And that's why I said it's hard watching the product in Tampa and watching
loaded.
Jeff Finnick as the owner does everything humanly possible to connect with the fan base. The place he leases right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning,
Emily?
Yeah, it's leased. He refuses to buy it. He's leasing it. The upgrades there, Pat, it's ridiculous. Such a fun place to go to. And again, love Philly, don't get me wrong. But the one thing that drives me nuts is you have here comes the mist. That's not good. But I don't know who turned that on either. But anyways, yeah, and that's going right towards that stuff. All right, well.
I'll move over.
I don't know if that can be disconnected or not. Yeah, and that's not going to be good. And there's no way to turn it off either. All right, so this is fun.
Can I see if we can turn it off?
Yeah. We got a mister going here. We had to interrupt the show here because we got a water mister going on. We got nothing electronic equipment.
It's not a good combo.
No, it's not. It doesn't spin that much. That's the whole thing. Is I got that there.
It's like James Harden with the Sixers.
Apparently they turn the misters on, and unfortunately we're getting screwed here because I'm getting everything wet. Yeah. Well, no, there's no button on it. Well, This is the fun part when you go live, unfortunately. All right, well, hopefully it'll go away because everything is getting a little bit wet here. But yeah, because even my mic now is starting to crap out. Yeah, so hopefully they'll get it because if not, I'm going to be screwed. I can already hear the water hitting this here. This is fun, Pat.
This is live radio right here.
Yeah. Well, so much for my water. All right, we'll just kind of continue this until that fills up, and then we'll take it from there. But hopefully they'll get it straightened out here. If not, I'm going to dump it out. But that and I just crushed my camera here. But anyway, so hopefully things don't get ruined. As far as the Flyers again, the Sixers fan base, we just hope, and obviously coming up too, the unfortunate part. Thank you. All right, so we got that straightened out. All right, so see, if I'm living here in Florida, that's all right.
I wasn't even thinking about this one over here. I apologize.
No worries. So, when we live down here in Florida, we got to stay cool.
Yeah.
The only reason why I didn't turn the fan on itself because I knew that Mister was going to end up happening. So, it happens. But Pat, the other thing too is that and Ryan talked about this earlier as well. Dallas obviously a big injury for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And now they got to figure out what to do too as well. But am I correct also in saying that obviously Dallas at this point is yet not through out because they haven't gotten a true test yet?
Yes and no. Like, I'm a believer, like, you need to face a real opponent, and it's not Daniel Jones. You know, I mean, beating Daniel Jones is tough. We all know that. It's not easy to. No, I'm kidding. It's like, yeah, okay, when you beat Daniel Jones, you should be able to beat Daniel Jones. I think they're very good, though. I do think they'll probably pose the biggest threat to the Eagles from the NFC. But I think the Eagles are, I mean, the best team in the NFC. Like, I don't think there's really much competition in the NFC, and I look ahead more toward the AFC as like, all right, who are they going to be battling out with? Cowboys have looked really good the first 2 weeks. They also haven't faced a real opponent, like a really good opponent. So it's hard to take them seriously. When they face a real team that has, you know, implications of making a playoffs or something, then I'll be there on my couch judging and seeing how they do. But it's tough to go, okay, like, this is real. And also, I feel like the Cowboys do this every year. I mean, not to the extent that they're doing it this year, blowing out teams by 40, but it seems like every year, you know, September, October, they look really good. And then come January, they've moved on to being Lakers fans. So it's tough. It's 2 weeks in. They've looked really good, but they've also faced two of the worst teams in football that have dealt with, you know, just bad injuries and just are not very good quarterbacks.
No, you're not. Now, what I'm bringing in here, so just so you guys know, you're seeing obviously on the camera, directly in front of me. Now, let me tell you, for the new folks who've tuned in to Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the game, of course, over on AMP Radio, right here on BradSteveStyle.com, and also on YouTube, Vince Rizzuto. And let me say something here about Vince. And I've said this to him. I've said this to him before. No, it's not a bad thing.
This is dangerous.
But the good thing is, you find sponsors, you might find affiliates, you might find people who want to be nice enough to donate. Vince went from doing the trickle, here's a dime donation, to going to, nah, I'm not going to be your sponsor. I'm just going to be your immediate partner. And that's because of a relationship that bonded within a week's time frame. So Vince being, I feel like something on my lip here, but Vince being my partner now for 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
2 years plus.
2 years.
So, and watching Vince grow with Philly Sports Show. Vince, first of all, not only for taking the time away from your busy schedule, and I know you're a man of 1,000 moves, but for what
I'm always working and I'm never working.
that's true.
It's
That
a
is
very
so
good
true.
way to put it.
That is true. But the reason why Pat and the Fanatic, Hollis, is all down here, all because of you and Philly Sports Trips.
It's a collection of people. It's like you have to bring everyone together, finding the best in the business, and creating unique experiences for the fans. I mean, that's everything. That's what we do. Eagles fans are passionate, and I met about 20 or 30 fans today that travel on their own. They're like, we do this. We do it with our 6 guys, our 8 guys, our 4 couples. But this looks fun. This is a community. We're happy that we tried this out. So 250 fans here today. We're going to have 600 or more tomorrow at the tailgate before the game with David Akers and Hollis Thomas. So I take this role very seriously. People work really hard in their lives for cash, and a lot of them have only so many vacation days. So when they book a trip with us, it's all about customer service aspect, making sure all their questions are answered, that they're comfortable. Even Pat Egan, who doesn't read his emails. Vince,
I'm very high maintenance.
Can you get me my boarding pass?
Yeah,
can you bring me
a
Coke? Can I come to dinner? Can I bring a +1? You know what I mean? Like those types of things.
Sadly, all of that happened. All of it.
So, yeah, it's we're blessed. We've traveled with over 7,000 fans in the last 7 years. 7,000. So I see the faces all the time. I don't remember all the names, but just good people, and those good people bring more. So
they do.
But having you as a partner and what we got to do all together for the Eagles Tampa game a year and a half ago for the playoff game. I mean, we had 500 fans at our Tampa Joe's event, former players. That's what it's about. I mean, Vince Papale today was on stage, and we got to ask him some really good questions, and we got to learn about his fandom and about his career. And I don't know. I hope this is the job that I have for the rest of my life.
I don't think so, because again, you gave up your actual full-time job to do this, and obviously it's paying off. And you got to thank the Philly faithful, because I mean we do travel in great numbers, and I'm pretty sure there could be another travel agency now. Nothing against Bucs fans, and I know we got some here on the other side of the house over at Frenchie's.
Yep.
But if I were to put a travel agency down here, and let's say I partner up with Vince for a travel agency, Pat, I'm going to give this one to you. How many fans do you think would travel from here, and let's just say they're playing in Arizona?
Oh man, are we talking Bucs fans?
Yeah.
Unless they're traveling to the Tom Brady
20,
ceremony.
Yeah, 20, 30. Not very many. Not that you could quit your full-time job and make a career of it. That's for sure. You'd find out real quick. You have to do it with the right fan base, and Vince clearly did it with the right fan base, because I notice it every time we travel with Vince and the gang from Philly Sports Trips. You see the same faces, right? And then you start wondering if you're going to see, I wonder if this person will be on the trip. I wonder if that person will be on the trip. Like, it's creating a family inside a family. We're all family because we're Eagles fans, and then you create the Philly Sports Trips family. What's impressive about the customer service angle that Vince does is something I've noticed, at least. Like, there's things beyond his control, right? Like the flight down
wasn't my fault.
Was an example, right? Like, it's just like, it wasn't. There was a technical issue on the plane. Nothing Vince could do. The plane was delayed, but nobody cares, because we all know it's not Vince's fault, but we also know that we're in for a good time no matter what. So you finally get down there, and it was funny, because I heard one guy say, I didn't want to go to the LA trip because I didn't want a 5-hour flight, and I ended up going to Tampa to get a 5-hour flight. But like, we're all laughing, we're all joking about it, because you know that when you travel with Vince, he has a 5-star hotel waiting for you, right? He's got parties, he's got celebs like Hollis, like Vince Papale, David Akers tomorrow. Like, you know that you're in good hands, and I'd say it's one-stop shopping. Like, you're paying for the peace of mind of not having to worry about, how am I getting to the game? How am I getting tickets?
Right.
How am I getting a hotel? Where am I staying? And trust me, I've been on the other end of where am I staying? How are we doing this? And it's a bleep show. So it's an impressive business that Vince has grown, and to see it go from where it was even a couple of years ago to where it is now, it's even more impressive.
It is, and that's why, listen, I could be Vince as far as the business side, Vince the man on the sports radio side. And the reason why I bring that up is because I can take the exact model that Vince has. He can just write everything down word for word. Here's what you do. Here's how you check everybody in. Here's how you get all the travel reports. I can do everything, but I can't get the fan base to say, just believe when we fill up this plane and we go out to Arizona, we're going to have 2 people will show up,
Yeah.
and then I'm screwed.
Well,
Yeah.
I always say if the fan base isn't selling out their own stadium, that's probably a good sign that
Yeah.
they won't travel.
Yeah. Very, very good point. I mean, the fact that Vince took 1,200 people to go quote welcome Carson Wentz back
End
to
his
the
career.
NFC East, like it's. I mean, in Washington, the ticket office is begging Vince, "Can you bring more people just so we can get a decent crowd?" Like that. I have a running joke on the air, but it's true. Like Vince is the only guy that can make FedEx Field enjoyable for anybody, because that place is such a dump.
It is.
At least the tailgate.
but
We
when
can't
you-
fix the stadium.
When you travel with Vince, it's like, life's good. Like you don't have to worry about anything, right? Tailgate's good, and trust me, that's another thing. I've been at FedEx Field on my own. It ain't fun.
It's not. The place sucks. Listen, Jack Kent Cook, we all know, right? He's gone, legendary guy. That's it. Then they give it to Snyder, who decides he wants to grow more than actually do business. But you go there, how do you not build the stadium? And you don't look when you're up in 300 level and you're sitting back like, wait, I can't see a thing.
Yeah.
How do you not see that? That to me, it always baffles me. Now they keep saying they want to build yet another new stadium. So if that was the case, why don't you just keep RFK,
yeah.
where everybody loved to be there? Such
That's a good spot.
Yeah. So I don't understand it. So why you spent all this money? Oh, I'm sorry. When I used to do your Raleigh, John, Maryland, that was another thing. It's in Lando where everybody knows this. But you build a stadium that everybody hates. You can't even go around the entire thing unless you're down on the first floor. So it doesn't make any sense to me. But again, Commanders do silly things. Although they are turning things around, I will admit now with Magic Johnson, I'm not even going to say the Sixers owner because it drove me nuts. Obviously, he wants to become part ownership. But I get it. If you got money, you want to spend it. Yeah, I think maybe you talk to Jeffrey Lurie before you talk to the Washington Redskins, aka the Commanders. But I don't get it. I just don't understand that whole realm down there. But I was very happy that he did take 1,200 plus down there, just to show when people listen to this on sports radio, when I talk to the locals around here, they don't understand, as we talked about earlier, it's the passion.
Yeah.
It is the toughest fan base. People can say whatever they want about New York. Oh, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. No, you come to Philly. Spend a month in Philly, anywhere in Philly. And I'm not talking about in the suburbs where things are pretty and beautiful and cozy. Spend it in the city and see how much that town can make or break you. Once you can figure out Philadelphia, you can go anywhere, be just fine. My former bosses figured that one out when I told them exactly where they can go, because you weren't going to walk all over me. Just because I left Philly didn't leave out of me.
Yep.
And that drives people nuts when I say that down here, but it's the absolute truth, and she knows it as well. I'm a nice guy. I will take my shirt off my back for anybody. I will do anything you ask me to do. But the minute you try to screw me over, I'm going to put you right in your place. That's just the way I operate. Because my thing is, we're all here to help one another out to do the best we possibly can. But when you start hounding on Philly, I'll let it slide for X amount. After that, that's it.
Yep.
All bets are off.
I mean, the passion is just incredible. And I think some people, they take it too far and they think that all Philly fans are trash, or they start fights, and it's just unbelievable through the years, all the vendors and companies that were scared to do business with us. And then the event happens, or we stay there at the hotel, or we have the charter flight, and they're like, wow, you guys were awesome. And it's pretty cool. It's like one of our mission statements pretty much is changing the perspective of the Philly fan, one trip at a time. And we usually have fans from the home teams, the opposing teams, at our events, and we treat them well. And, if I'm in the stadium, I'm always buying at least one beer a game for the opposing fan. I just feel like it's good karma. But it's pretty cool to see the love and just changing that perspective. And I think a lot of people miss it. So the other cool thing about our company is you don't have to fly home to Philly to get a Philly experience anymore. You just have to go to a road game. If you live in Florida, you drive 30 minutes like Vince Papale did today, and you come here. He was like, this was awesome. I felt like I was back in Philly for a couple hours, So it's cool just to see all the fans from all over the country, and actually all over the world. We have 25 men and women coming from England this year to Philly for Birds Fly Home, our event. Someone signed up yesterday from Bermuda that's coming to that.
I already plugged that. Stop. Move on.
I'm just impressed by the international fan base and how we're everywhere.
Yeah, it's it's amazing. Like when I saw that on the website, initially I'm like, that doesn't really make much. Oh yeah, no, it does. Like I started thinking about our listeners on the Fanatic and how we'll take callers from not only all over the country, but yeah, as I told you, like we got callers from England. It's like this is crazy. Like there are people that have just never. They either have only been here a few times, maybe, or they have never been here at all, and it's like they want to get the full like what it's like to be at the place that they've heard so much about, which is the Link, down in South Philly on game day.
There's some cities now that we've done 6, 7, 8 trips to, and we've never done a trip in Philadelphia. We've never done a room block in Philadelphia and done something centered around our town. So I think it's pretty cool, and it's something we want to expand and grow. But you're so right. I mean, there's these diehard fans that have never been to the Link.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but it's true.
It's a shame, but then now with your company, it's like you're making that possibility, and they know because of the reviews and whatnot, and word of mouth. It's like your money's going into good hands. You'll be taken care of. You don't have to worry about anything, and it's a credit to you and the business that you've created here.
One other important thing to say is you and 97.5, how big of a part of our company it is, and like people plug in all day, every day to you guys to get their sports news, to get their to deposit checks into their fandom bank, and just like get ready for the games. And then having you guys on the road as mini celebrities, it adds a lot. People want that. People want to listen to you for 6 hours a week in their car. They want to meet you, and they want to thank you for what you've done to them. So
yeah, it's humbling.
It's beautiful.
That's what I said to him earlier.
It's true.
It's true. I never know how to react to that because it's humbling.
No, Pat, listen, I love you. I've loved you for many, many years.
And we've known each other for like a decade at this point.
Yeah, we sure have. And that's it. That's what I'm telling you, Vince. So I told him earlier, if God forbid anything were to happen to Pat, he is the backbone of the Fanatic. Anybody can say whatever they want to. He's just the backbone of the Fanatic.
I'm just going to cut this audio and send it to my boss. And just say, this is how the people feel.
But it's the honest, it's the truth. I mean, the longest tenured staff member there. I mean, at this point,
he's so creative too.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
And he's so hilarious. I mean, even off the air, he's probably even funnier than he is on the air. You can't say all your jokes on the air.
You cannot. You cannot. I'll tell Angel. I'll tell you off the air what I told Vince like the first time I actually had a conversation with him. But yeah, it's fun, man. I mean, you'll see like listeners that you see at some of our events, and then it's like you're getting on the plane, and you're like, oh, what's up? And he's like, yeah, I heard about the tailgate. It's it's the easiest company to sell, honestly. It's easy when you're able to experience it. And I had a buddy who I was documenting like being down here. He's like, bro, we're going to the game. You guys got a tailgate set up? And I was like, we sure do. There's the link. It's easy to sell when you've seen it firsthand, and you've also seen how Vince has handled I don't want to say tumultuous situations because that's not the right word, but like, hectic situations of something as simple as somebody that booked their own travel not realizing it, and they get to the airport and they go, oh my God, I don't have a plane ticket. What's going on? And instead of Vince being like, oh, hey, a-hole, you booked your own plane ticket, he goes, no, we'll take care of it. That's a customer service angle that like he just made a customer for life, and to see how he's handled situations like that. This is, I don't know, 4th, 5th time we've traveled with you guys. Yeah. Never had a bad time. Never seen anyone have a bad time. And I've seen a bunch of repeat customers. And they're not giving their hard-earned money if they didn't have a good time, and know that their money's in good hands. And with Vince and the gang from Philly Sports Trips, it is. It's an easy product to sell.
Pat, what can we do better? What's a good goal trip for next year? I guess like New Orleans is on the list, and Baltimore. Like, what would you like to see Philly Sports Trips do next?
It's one of the best things about you as a business owner is you're never content. Like, truly, you're never content. It's always like a prime example is the homecoming, because I think most of the competition that you might face or other companies around the country, they don't even think about that, about bringing people to Philly or to Boston or to whoever, and you go like, no, like there's a market for this. I'd have to think about it though.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to you. Like we always do. And
more desserts.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, but like even this time, I mean, we're then like a block away from an ice cream place, and I already had mine for the day, but I'll probably go again when in Rome. I'll have to think about it. Like that's the one of your best qualities. You're always open to like talking about improving the product, and you're never satisfied. Like you got what a couple hundred people here. Everyone's having a good time, and you're thinking your wheels are turning of like, all right, how can we make this bigger, better? I gotta get back to you on that.
Okay,
But I think it's a good sign though that I don't have an immediate answer for you.
that's a very good thing.
Yeah, I don't have like
Ice cream sundaes for everyone is what I was thinking.
No, we walked into the hotel and it's like this place is gorgeous. Yeah, maybe an ice cream social.
Okay,
Maybe
I think like an in trip add-on, which is like ice cream sundae party with Pat Egan, swim with dolphins and E-Rock.
Yep.
A beer with Bob Cooney. We could like do some cool, unique things maybe in trip.
I did tell you should sell off like the seat next to Hollis on the plane.
Half price.
Just don't tell him though. Just don't tell him. Just have it be a special on the website. And then he has to sit next to some random fan or whatever. But
it's a one-on-one experience with Hollis Thomas,
Yes.
up close
The
and personal.
longest trip.
I did that 2 weeks ago on the way back from Boston. I did that experience.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
You never know, like partnering with some of these former athletes, you never know how they're going to be. Hollis could not be cooler, more down to earth. Like he's the man. So
I think one other thing is like it's the only good people rule. Like we've worked with like our inner circle. 4 of you guys are here. 3 of you guys are here at the table. Is like 20 or 30 people, and we have to protect who is in the inner circle, and it has to be only good people. Because a few rotten apples can spoil it. And, and you're always attracting new people at every event. There's always people that say, this is my first event. This is my first trip. And so you have to make sure each event is up to the standard.
Yeah, you want them coming back, and obviously a lot of people have. So, no, you've done great, man. Love you.
Angel, thanks, man. This has been great. You're coming to the tailgate tomorrow?
I'm going to try to get there only because my full-time obligation. I'm going to try and get there as best I possibly can.
Okay.
I haven't seen David Akers obviously in centuries, it feels like, at this point. But no, I'm going to try and get there. But listen, what I need to be is Vince Rizzuto Jr. as far as the business, and then 97.5 Fanatic Jr. as far as you guys, because this is a great marriage. And the best part is that I've been fortunate with the Fanatic. I think year 2 they followed me on social media, and ever since, I've shared out as much as I possibly can from them. I've had a lot of fun listening to their station. Again, Pat, you being the longest tenure there. Pat's boss, I'm going to say this again. If Pat ever goes away, expect an angry mob. Even the illegal immigrants that are all over Philly are going to show up for Pat. Just pointing out.
Mostly them.
Mostly. Just pitchforks outside.
Exactly.
We want Egan back. We want Egan.
All the ice cream shops in the area will close down.
Absolutely, yeah. Just they'll have a moment of silence. Flags at half staff.
No. Well, it's the same thing. Well, when you figure when Jamie, when he was gone, that drove everybody nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. It just didn't make any sense.
It's a business. I think a lot of businesses, the further you are away from the end user, the worse decisions you make, So, but overall, 97.5 is amazing. It's been a great partnership, but just like anyone else, you gotta deal with some bad decisions sometimes. So, but all good things now. I see the future's bright, and I'm here if you guys ever need anything. So,
I'm also here.
It's been great. It's been great working with you, Pat.
Yeah, it was fun.
This is like Angel's like bringing it down a little bit here. The mood. With the retirement. Are you retiring?
No.
I feel like Boys to Men's gonna kick in with End of the Road.
Not at all.
Our last trip together. So we'll be back here, by the way, in a year whenever the Eagles play Tampa.
Well, plus the Phillies.
Oh yeah, of course. We'll be here in March.
That's the one thing I want to say, Vince. All right. So even though I haven't stayed at one of our hotels, but the experience as a fan, when you invite me to cruises, the dinner outings, the one thing that you don't get a chance to hear because you're always busy, the seniors are absolutely infatuated and in love with you because of the way you handle things. They feel like it's wintertime. Obviously,
we're good with the seniors.
Here. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because they come down here to enjoy themselves.
And it's customer service, And a lot of baseball fans are, of that generation, the older generation, and all they want is to have things worked out for them, right? So they want to know about the bus. They want to know about what the menu is on the boat. Should they show up 5 minutes early or 5 minutes late? You know what I mean? Like they just need a little bit extra information, and that's what we're good at. I mean, you should not be stressed on a trip with us, and a lot of trips are stressful. You know,
No, but not with you guys.
so we'll keep getting better. I'm gonna get another Birds Crush. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome,
Love you,
Zoe.
Angel. Love you, Pat.
too.
I'm gonna go get a Coke.
Oh,
Go ahead.
we're gonna go to the bar.
All right. If you
All
guys
right.
can, is Hollis leaving or is he? What's he doing?
I'll see if he can jump on.
All right. He might be exiting the parking lot here.
All right, let me go find him.
All right, Angel, love you, bud.
Go ahead,
Bye,
love
buddy.
you guys.
Vince, you're cool too.
Thanks, fellas. That is always thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right. We're trying to, as we're coming here to very much to close. And when it comes to Brian, again, thanks for being patient. I know you've been waiting on the other side there. As we've been talking to Vince, along with Pat Egan from 97.5 The Fanatic. By the way, what is the latest on the NFL scores? That it is now, what, 2:30, so we're past the halftime mark?
We have. Well, Dolphins are obliterating the Broncos. It's 35-10 at the half. Browns are up at the half on the Titans, 13-3. We got the Chargers over the Vikings, 14-10. Colts over the Ravens, 10-7. Patriots over the Jets, 10-3. Bills over the Commanders, 16-0.
Hollis. Go ahead.
Lions over the Falcons, 13-3. Saints all over the Packers, 17-0. And your Houston Texans all over the Jags, 17-0.
Houston over the Jaguars, 17-0?
At the half. Yep.
Wow. I think that's shocking more than anything else, is that's actually happening. But listen, we just had Pat Egan, Vince Rizzuto again, the CEO of Philly Sports Trips. Bob Cavanaugh, of course, is down here as well. Andrew Saltunis is running around somewhere inside the building. Hollis Thomas is on the other side. I'm seeing, hopefully, maybe I can grab Hollis Thomas for a minute or two before we end up signing off. It has been a different type of show today, and I apologize, as obviously there's a lot of stuff going on here. The band is taking a long break, and I think actually it might be wrapping up being done. So they did a set for, 20, 30 minutes, and that's been pretty much it. So they've wrapped up that set. We may not get, let's see. Hollis looks like maybe a former alum that's come on here. That's come in the house here as I'm scanning around the different crowds. I guess I'll flip the camera here, even though you can't see because obviously you have the shadow on the other side. But Hollis Thomas is on the other side of the tent there with E-Rock, with Bob Cavanaugh, as they're over by the entrance. So it may or may not happen. I was hoping to grab Andrew Saltunis for a quick minute, but those guys are inside. They're busy. But either way, hopefully, if I don't get Hollis on, it's no big deal. If not, it'll be all right. So we'll see. Someone ended up flagging him over, so let's see if I can get Hollis on. He may not come on. I know he's busy with his friends and all. So if not, we'll end up wrapping this thing up. Yeah, Hollis might be. Yep. He's walking inside. So, anyways, Ryan, it's not the usual show that we put on for the pregame show, but nonetheless, it was a show, I guess. So, yeah, with that being said, that's going to wrap it up for us here at Coco's Beach in Clearwater. For everyone who's here for the game, we hope that everyone enjoys the game tomorrow night. Of course, go Birds. Your score for tomorrow night, Ryan.
I'm going to piss a lot of Eagles fans off, but I'm going to say Tampa Bay 28, Philadelphia 24.
That's not bad. I can't be mad at you because it's not bad. I'm not going to agree with you, but I'm not mad at you either. I think the Eagles will end up squeaking one away. I think it'll be 31-29, just a tad bit closer, but I think they'll get the job done. So we'll see. Stranger things can happen on any given Monday as well, just like any given Sunday. So with that being said, thank you to everyone who tuned in today. We do appreciate it. As the equipment hung in there. I wasn't supposed to take you away, Ryan. As the equipment hung in there as long as it possibly could, even though it was getting baked by the sun. But nonetheless, that is it. We will see you guys possibly tomorrow night. So with that being said, for my producer Debbie, for Ryan over in Pennsylvania, for myself here in Clearwater, you guys enjoy the rest of your day.